I have been on the road full-time vehicle camping since 2017, and I really wish back when I started I had known then what I know now. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Rhea, and my dog Blue and I currently live in my 27-year-old imported Defender named Poe. The last 7 years on the road, I've gone through all of the tough stuff so you don't have to, and in this episode I'm going to be sharing 8 things I wish I would have known before ever moving into a vehicle, in hopes that this can help somebody out there who wants to start overlanding full-time. Also, make sure you stick around because later in the video I asked some of my friends who are also full-time travelers to give their tips to you guys as well. Let's get this party started. Starting off with tip number 1. You need way less gear than you think you need when you first go to leave to live on the road full time. I remember when I left in 2017, van life was kind of a thing, but there was nobody just living in their vehicles that I knew of at least, and so I had no frame of reference, no resource. I packed everything I could that I thought I might use into my little Subaru Outback, and man did I pay the price for it. It took me a really long time to learn the basic things that I need, and I had to like fight through all of the random crap that I brought with me to even use the basics. Anybody who asks me for advice when they want to do what I do or something similar, get your sleeping gear, your cooking gear, a water system, power station so that you can charge your electronics, and protection for yourself. Use your basics. Make sure you love them, and then you're good to go. Add on from there if you see something that you think might be more of like a luxury, but you do not need that much. I promise you, the longer that I'm on the road, the less I use, the more simple my setup is, the more I get rid of stuff. Everybody has a couple luxury things that they like to keep with them that isn't like a basic necessity. I'm not saying you need to be bare bones here, but I promise you, you'll stress yourself out if you bring like everything in the kitchen sink with you and then realize how small your space is and you just don't really even grab half of it half the time. You know what I mean? Start small with the basics, build up from there. Tip number 2, test out your entire rig and gear setup before you leave. When your girl left in 2017 in her little white Subaru Outback named Rue, I had gone camping before, but I had never done long durations of living in a vehicle before. And there are certain things you just don't know how to problem solve until you get to that situation. Like for example, I hadn't cooked dinner in the middle of a thunderstorm or in inclement weather really at all. I hadn't stayed at one site for like 7 days and drained my power station and needed to figure out how to charge it while I'm still there. Like there's just things you can learn how to problem solve if you're testing out your entire setup before you actually leave. Go out for longer durations, go out for shorter durations, set everything up, tear it back down. Take out all of your gear and use it, because it's also a good way for you to test if you actually need to be taking that with you. Just put everything through its paces before you decide to pack it up and take off with it. I think you guys get what I'm saying, but trial runs in advance can save you a lot of headaches in the future. Tip number 3 is one of the most important ones that I need to listen to my own advice more. Stay organized, stay clean. I know. You guys get it. I don't need to go on and on about it. Staying organized and staying clean is so important because your space is so small and everything clutters so fast. Honestly, I wish before I left somebody would have pointed that out and been like, take time to actually go get things to organize your gear and make sure things aren't falling over when you drive. That happens to me all the time. I leave stuff up on the counter and it just tumbles over. Actually, I just ran into a problem where my Jackery won't charge anymore because I had left coffee on the counter and it spilled behind the Jackery and fried all my wires. So, again, staying organized can save you money too. Piece of advice number 4. You want to switch your brain from thinking reactively to preventatively, because breakdowns are going to happen more often than not. You guys have seen me go through so much on this channel. Do you guys remember #Topo? That was like my entire 2023 summer. And while you cannot predict every single breakdown that's going to happen, what you do need to know is that Murphy's Law is ever present when you're living on the road full time. So take your brain from reacting to situations that happen to you and get preventative. Do your preventative maintenance on your vehicle. Have things like AAA. That entirely saved me this summer. Thousands of dollars. Gotta love AAA. You should have it. The big one. Get your oil changes done. Change your axle fluid. I'm just like going through Poe's checklist. You guys know what I mean though. Basically just keep up on the maintenance of whatever vehicle you're traveling in. It's so important. okay? Take it from me. I had to learn the hard way with like everything in life. Number 5, and I have really learned this the hard way since spending the last 5 months in Alaska, Mother Nature rules all. And I am speaking from experience, okay? Especially if you guys have been watching my Alaska series. I've been up here for 5 months and I did not think I was gonna be here past November. So right now I'm in the dead middle of winter and I have been struggling because I didn't think I was gonna be up here this long and I have not been prepared. My truck has been shutting down. Blue and I have gotten ourselves into danger a few times. I'm laughing, but it's not funny. Like, you really do need to make sure that you're prepared, especially if you have animals, because they come first. Also, hot tip, if you are either in extreme cold or extreme hot and you have to exercise your dog, let's say, take them into Home Depot or Lowe's and walk them around for like an hour and a half. That's what I do, okay? Blue and I are basically Home Depot employees at this point. Okay. Mother Nature rules all. Make sure your pets are safe. Number 6 is to invest in good quality gear. When I first started 7 years ago, I was such a cheapskate. I did not buy anything quality. And honestly, it probably cost me more money than it saved me because I was constantly having to replace everything cheap that I bought and just replace it with more cheap stuff, when if I had just shelled out the money and bought something quality, I wouldn't have had to do that. You know what I mean? Things that you should be investing in: a solid power station, a good fridge and freezer system, a bed. Oh my gosh, and your bedding, that should be high quality stuff. Did you know that Andrew Huberman says that sleep is the #1 most important thing to your quality of health, even more than your nutrition and your exercise? That just blows my mind. Make sure that you have good quality bedding stuff so that you can sleep well, so you can be healthy. But in all seriousness, it is really, really important that the things that you do need to count on be high quality. Okay. Piece of advice number 7. Do your research, okay? Do your due diligence, not only just researching the areas that you're going to, because that is important, but utilize resources like The Dirt and iOverlander, where people will go to campsites ahead of time and leave reviews, so you kind of know exactly what you're getting into. Is it a sketchy area? Is there potable water there? Can you dump your gray water if you're traveling in a van and that's something that you need to do? People will leave info like how big the space is, how much trash is around, which is an unfortunate part of people being outside. But things like that, you want to trust those reviews. I have avoided many a times some pretty sketchy campsites by just paying attention to the photos that people leave on iOverlander, so gotta love resources like that. Also, kind of like number 7, part 2, you want to make sure that you have a plan for everything and then have a backup plan if your main plan fails, and then also plan for nothing or any of your backup plans to go to plan because of Murphy's Law. That is just the reality of traveling full-time on the road and not having one home base that's like a steady place to crash. Things change all the time, but have a plan for all of it just so that you kind of have your wherewithal and you're being smart. Basically, just have a plan, do your research, utilize the resources out there because people will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Pay attention when locals will tell you things about certain areas. Trust the people that live in the environment that you're like putting yourself into. Use common sense, you'll be alright. Now, before we get to point number 8, I wanted you guys to have really well-rounded advice, so I reached out to some of my friends who are also full-time travelers or avid overlanders to see if they had to go back in time to themselves at the beginning, what piece of advice would they have wanted to hear. And here's what they had to say.
What's up, guys? It's Timmy here in Alaska, and thank you, Rhea, for this video. This is a great idea, and I think it might help a lot of people. So I feel like my best advice, or the thing I wish I would have known before I went on the road full time, is just learning to slow down and enjoy the journey. It's just not about the destination. You see people make these lists, these bucket lists, just so you can check stuff off, and it's not about that. It's about everything before you get there. And I've just realized that more and more over the years, to slow down, stay in areas a little bit longer, get to know people a little bit better, make better friends that way, and just have just more meaningful experiences. And I'd say that's my greatest piece of advice if you are going to be on the road and have all this freedom to do what you want to do. Just take your time and slow it down a little bit and smell the roses. So hope to see you guys out there, and thanks again, Rhea, for having me on here.
Hi guys, this is Fishing with Becca, and it was really hard for me to kind of pick one thing, but if there was one thing I had to give advice on, and one thing that I really wish I knew before starting this crazy journey, is moisture, condensation. It's not your friend, and it is a very real and hard thing to deal with. When you first wake up, when you're cooking, if it was raining the night before, it doesn't really matter. Condensation's going to be there. It's gonna build up on your window with a bunch of fog, moisture and water droplets on your window. It's not fun. My first ever big road trip was in the spring, and it was during the rainy season, which definitely did not help whatsoever. And it was a big wake-up call when I would wake up every morning and it would just be terrible. Sometimes your stuff everywhere, even your clothes, will slightly be damped. It's not fun. So I went on Amazon and I got a portable little dehumidifier, or there's just little moisture control balls that you can buy. There's a bunch of options out there, especially ones that don't use power, you don't have to plug them in or anything. And I highly recommend looking into it because it saved me a lot. And my last truck camper had a ton of mold because I didn't address it right away or know about it. So don't do the same mistake that I did. Moisture, humidity, all that stuff. It's not your friend. It's not my friend. So that would be my #1 thing that I would say to you guys for advice. I do have a million other things, but I can't. I have to keep this short. Okay, bye. I love you guys.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki Delventhal, and these sleepy boys here are Camper and Rodney. I have been traveling full-time for over 8 years now. 3 of those years were spent full-time in a 2006 Toyota Prius, and now eventually making it to this beautiful van. It's been an absolute dream. But I'm here to share with you what I wish I knew when I first got started. And that is, there's a lot, but I would say the main thing is essentially less is more. If you're getting started, don't feel like you need all the expensive gear and you have to have everything figured out, because the only way you're gonna know what you need is by needing it. So start inexpensive, start small, and learn as you go, and just trust yourself that you'll figure it out, because you will.
Hey everyone, it's Dan here from The Road Chose Me. And if I had one piece of advice that I could give to people that are thinking about setting out on a big trip, it would be find people that have done what you're interested in doing and seek them out, get their input, get their advice. If you're looking to drive to Alaska, if you're looking to drive the Pan American Highway, there are thousands of people that'll tell you you can't do it, it's not safe, it's a dumb idea. Don't listen to them because they've never done it and they don't know what they're talking about. Find people that have done it, reach out on Instagram, join the Facebook groups of travelers. There are tens of thousands of people that have driven the Pan American Highway in the last few years. Solo females, people with kids, people with pets, people with motorhomes, people on scooters and motorbikes. All kinds of people have done it. Reach out to them and you get the information to do it yourself.
Hey everybody, it's Eric, aka the moderator. This is Sydney. Yes, I fell in love with Blue and had to have my very own. We overland full-time in my 2005 first-gen Sequoia behind me. And the one thing that I wish I knew before I set out was, and I've thought a lot about this, and I wanted to pick something maybe a little different. If you're a little bit older, slightly older, like me, not a lot older, just, a little bit, say over 40, I would highly recommend, if you have a HMO healthcare plan, to switch that to a PPO plan. Because if you have an HMO plan and you're away from your doctor like I was in Montana and needed to see a doctor, I couldn't, because my PCP has to refer me to everyone. So I switched that to a PPO in November, and now I can see any doctor in the country. It seems kind of obvious in hindsight, but I had just so much going on back in July that I didn't think about it. So that will help you out tremendously. If you're younger, it's probably not that big of a deal, but if you're a little bit older and need to see a doctor, then highly recommend, if you have an HMO, to switch that to a PPO. Have fun, guys. Later.
Hey guys, I'm Mary Hannah and this is Andy, and we are Expedition Rove. We have been traveling the last 4 years or so in our Land Rover Defender, going through 45 different countries.
One piece of advice that I would give you, especially for those that are gonna go international, would be only get your advice from people that have been to those countries, not from people that haven't. At first we were taking advice from family members and so on, and they were telling us about what could happen to us in Colombia or Mexico or whatever, and it almost stopped us from going. And then we said, let's only take advice from people that have actually been to those places, and here's where we've been since then.
Yeah, and I also would definitely keep in mind that it's not about the gear, it's about the miles and memories, so don't get so caught up on spending loads of money on equipment. Make sure that you're staying humble with your build, doing whatever you feel like you really need for that trip ahead, and then get out there and get on the road. That's the most important
thing. Spend your money
thing.
on the miles and memories.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey everybody, Chris Collard here. Maria with Roaming Reckless contacted me and asked me about tips on overlanding. And I've got a couple. I've been fortunate enough to travel across all 7 continents. I've been through about 60 countries, driven Jeeps across Australia, Toyotas across Africa, I've had all kinds of fun stuff. Keep a vehicle in South America for overlanding trips. So there's a lot of scuttlebutt in the industry about what is overlanding. And I hear a lot of people talk about all the gear, the tactical potty plan and the tactical meal plan, and having a defined schedule and being here and doing that, and we're gonna, be amazing. Well, that works for some people, but it's not particularly my style. And there is a book called Travels with Charlie Steinbeck, and some good friends, overlanding icons, Gary and Monica Westcott, have always maintained this, and I've adopted their philosophy. And that you don't want to take a trip, you want the trip to take you. And what that means, at least to me, is that you need to be flexible. You need to come to a fork in the road and you take it. You talk to somebody at a taco stand in Baja and they're like, oh, you should go see this thing. This is really cool. Or this beach, or a waterfall in Venezuela, or whatever that might be. And having the mental flexibility to say, you know what, I'm gonna take the day and I'm gonna check this out, or 2 days, or have, a week if you have it. So it's more of a mindset. You can talk about border crossing security and, the gear, the tools, maintaining your rig, do you need a rooftop tent, blah, blah, blah. But to me, it's more about actually just getting out there and doing it and having the mental flexibility. The second thing is knowing how much you can chew when you bite it off. I've known people that have said, we're gonna go to New Zealand. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. How long are you gonna be there for? And the answer was, oh, we're gonna do Australia as well. I'm like, wow, I'm thinking they must be going for months. No, they were going for a week. Like, just get your passport stamped, and I'm gonna go get it stamped over here, and we did these 2 places. Well, if you try to do everything, you're gonna see nothing. It's gonna be a blur. So those are my 2 points for overlanding tips for a Roaming Reckless crew, and that is, don't bite off more than you can chew, and don't take a trip, let the trip take you.
I just want to say thank you so much to my friends who participated and sent in their advice. There's such a variety of travelers and rigs, and I love this community, so thank you guys for being a part of it. They're just all such cool people, and Blue says you have to go show them some love. So it's an order. I don't make the rules here. Blue's in charge. And last but not least, tip number 8, trust your gut. And this is something that's never gonna fail you. I'm talking shady situations, people that are looking at your rig funny. If you're in an eerie part of the woods and you don't like the feeling, just get out and get yourself to safety. Trusting your gut is going to save you so many negative, unnecessary experiences on the road. So I saved the best for last. And it sounds just like common sense, but it's like, no, truly, when you feel like something is off, just trust it and go. You don't need to worry about how long it took you to get there. You don't need to worry about the money you already spent on a campsite. Like, if something seems off, it's because it is. So just trust your gut and be safe. All right, now get your ass outside and go explore, because life is way too short. Bye.